What are the two buttons here, the red and yellow button, do?
That one's missile. That one is other missile.
Nice. Where do they... Because we were looking at it earlier, I was like, it definitely needs some kind of turret. It's quite comfortable. Yeah. You guys have sorted it out, so it's quite cozy. Now, if I was to turn this on right now, what button would I press? Welcome to Autoblog's Translogic. I'm Jonathan Buckley. We were promised jetpacks a long time ago. We saw rocket belts in the 50s, we saw James Bond escape on one in film in the 60s, and a jetpack was used to open up the 1984 Olympics. But even with today's technology, the jetpack still remains an elusive accomplishment, with only a few companies vying to overcome the challenges that have kept the jetpack in the world of science fiction. And that's why we're here today, to take a look at what we think is the most promising example so far. And we've found ourselves in this remote location to witness the very first civilian trial. The stakes are big on this one. Jetpack Aviation held a contest to offer a flight to a civilian, and Misha Pollack was the lucky winner. Now, to be clear, the civilian distinction applies to the first non-employee or JPA team member to fly. It's meant to be proof that just about anyone with very little training could fly the jetpack. So this is Misha Pollack, one of the luckiest men I've managed to encounter to be the first civilian jetpack flight here today. Did you ever think that you would get the chance to do something like this?
Never, which is never in my life, which is why I'm so excited, because when you think about science fiction and the last so many decades of like man's technology, there's only so many things in science fiction that every young boy, girl grows up like dreaming about, and that's like time travel and like faster than light speed and jetpacks. More people have been in space than have flown on an actual jetpack, so that I get to join that small rank of you know, daredevils, I'm excited.
Well, Nelson Tyler is one of the co-founders of JPA, and you're the engineer that's worked on the JB-10 and brought it finally to fruition.
Yes.
But you've been working in this field for,
50 years.
50 years?
Yeah.
How did you get into what was it about rockets that drew you to the jetpack?
When I was young, I wanted to be Buck Rogers.
Yeah.
And finally, I decided I'd better get to it and build a jetpack.
Yep.
But back then, there were no engines available, so I built a rocket belt, which used hydrogen peroxide, and it would run about 25 seconds for $900 worth of fuel.
What about nuclear fusion?
We figured that all out once, and it's really...
You figured it all out?
No, I have. Totally a matter of money. There's only one catch. You fly over a crowd, they all die.
Okay.
So about 11 years ago now, I started on the idea of a jetpack that would burn gasoline, kerosene, diesel fuel. And at the exact same time, David called, and he's put millions into this.
Yeah.
And I did all the design work, and we built everything.
The whole concept was to design something that is as small as possible and as light as possible. That was always our personal dream, to have something that you could put in the back of your car and fly with.
Before the packs can be put to consumer use, a few more safety measures need to be put in place. The guys at JPA have put in a buoyancy system for emergency landing over water, but are still developing a parachute system for landing safely over land in the case of an engine failure. For safety's sake, today's flights will be done on a tether. Having seen the extreme flight exhibitions that David's done in London, Monaco and New York Harbour, we're excited for them to sort out the parachute system so that flights like that could be performed safely over land. Watching David fly the jetpack, the possibilities for real-life application became clear. Rapid sea-to-land deployment for troops and manned search and rescue missions through narrow canyons and wooded areas where helicopters and planes can't fly. All right, Dave, so give us a quick rundown of what the JB-10 is. I mean, obviously, jet engines.
2 jet engines, one on each side, producing about nearly 200 pounds of thrust each.
Almost 400 pounds of lift.
Yep.
Okay, and the pack itself weighs?
Like 80-something pounds.
And that's without fuel?
Yep,
okay.
Without fuel, and then you add the pilot, you add the fuel, and it flies.
And it flies. All right, I'm just going to spin it around here because it's kind of fascinating. This is where a lot of your technology's gone into, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is the fuel tank. This is a rotor-molded fuel tank. We built the whole shape and the mold, and then we produced these. Inside that is a bladder. It's the same kind of bladder that they use in NASCAR or Formula One racing cars. So if you had a crash, the bladder should contain the fuel. The fuel's kerosene as well, which is not hugely flammable. It's not like gasoline. From the fuel filters, the fuel comes up through the lines on each side into fuel pumps.
Right.
and then the whole brains of the unit sit in each side here. That's a computer in there and in there. And then if I just spin it around quickly, there's a master computer, believe it or not, under there that we build, we write the software program for and everything else. It's interpreting the throttle signal from the pilot and converting that into a signal that then goes to these two individual computers, and then they sync up the thrust from the engines. A central gimbal, and which means it's effectively you're just articulating this center of thrust.
Right, and that's got what, a forward axis and a side-to-side axis?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Do you mind if I hop up like into it?
Sure. It sort of rides like a rucksack, right?
Oh, it's kind of like that machine you use at the gym to lift your legs up, work your abs.
There you go.
I tell you what, you're a big tease, David. This is about as excited as I've been for a long time, and I'm not going to get to finish the job. All right, Misha, I know you've probably got a lot running through your mind right now, and you're ready to go and jump in the jetpack. One last out. I'll take your seat if you're willing to give it up to me.
I think I'm okay.
You think you're okay?
I think I'm gonna give I think I'm gonna give it a shot. Maybe next time.
Okay, if you
next time.
get up there, you get cold feet, just let me know. I'll strap myself in, no problem.
We'll do, bucko.
Thanks, Misha. Good luck. While David makes flying the jetpack look easy, as Misha strapped in, we realised the full weight of what we were about to see. The first untrained civilian jetpack flight. His body is about to experience completely new physics at work. I can see Misha struggling when his second foot left the ground, and I'm not surprised. Keeping balance in midair with all that horsepower on his back must have been a strange sensation. Misha, congrats, mate. You made it back in one piece.
Woo! Good to be down.
How was it?
It was wonderful. I knew there was a few times where I didn't have it going on the way I wanted it to go, but there wasn't any moment where I was like, emergency, pull the cord or anything like that.
So, how did Misha do, our first civilian pilot of the JB10?
Misha actually did really, really well.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think he got right? What do you think he needs to work on?
I mean, for what he needed to do, he nailed it.
Okay.
And I know looking at it from an outsider's point of view, you may have said, well, he didn't really have control or he didn't really get height. He did everything right.
Okay, well, what's next? Obviously, you're planning to have the parachute, which means it's a bit safer over land. Is there going to be a JB11?
There is already a JB11. It'll be finished in the next month.
Oh!
Yeah, multiple engines. I mean, this is multiple engines already, but more multiple engines.
More engines?
More engines, which gives us more redundancy. A really fancy computer that we've built and written the software for that will balance the thrust between the engines. More power.
Okay, more power.
Yeah.
I still love more power.
More power, more power, more horsepower.
Well, when we came here today, we really didn't know what to expect. And while obviously we have to be tethered or over water to be able to use this thing safely, I think what David and Nelson and the guys at JPA have done is create something that not only has gotten us very excited, but it's brought us so much closer to an era of personal aviation. And that can only be a good thing. For Autoblog's Translogic, I'm Jonathan Buckley. We'll catch you next time. Where was that on button again?
No, stop. Take him away.